Hey, what's going on, guys? It's been a while since I've uploaded last. I want to make a video today talking about, one, where have I been the last like 2 months or so? I haven't uploaded much, um, which I don't know if you care or not. But the second thing I want to talk about, which will be most of this video, is actually going over the PvP arena that's supposed to come out sometime in May of this year. So that's about like a month and a half from now. Really excited for that. I think that's going to be pretty game changing, like for PvP in general. But anyways, I'll get to that later. This is going to be kind of like a ramble video. It's going to be probably like 30 minutes long. I don't even know. I just started recording this now, but I am going to make like an organizational like table of contents almost, I guess, if you want to skip around to each specific thing, if you're curious about any specific thing. Otherwise, I'll probably try to put, interesting visuals on the screen. If I'm just talking about nothing, I'll just put like clips of me killing people in the rev caves or something like that, or doing like last man standing. But yeah, I do more than just Edgeville style of PKing. I'm not the best at it. I'm much better at Edgeville 1v1, but I've been trying to get into that, last man standing, outlast type fights a lot more, because I think the PvP arena is that's really what it's going to be. But anyways, before we get on to that, yeah, the last like month, 2 months or so, I did Leagues 3. The main reason I wanted to even do this is because I thought the rewards were going to be untradeable. This was probably kind of stupid of me to think that, because the previous league rewards were tradable, so you didn't even need to play the league. You could just buy it with GP afterwards, which I think is kind of stupid. Kind of like defeats the purpose a little bit, except for the trophies. The trophies are, individual to you, but yeah, the rewards were tradable this time around too. I ended up getting the full tier 3 outfit, which, oh, did I just move my screen here? What did I just do? Anyways, yeah, I got the full tier 3 outfit, which looks pretty sick actually. Like, all like these emotes too you can do from like unlocking fragments and stuff. I don't know, it was kind of cool. Again, I wish it wasn't tradable. The main thing I really wanted was the Void. I think the Void rework, or the ornament kit for the Void, honestly looks sick. I did pretty good. I mean, in the league in general, I got Adamant Trophy, which is decent. Wish I kind of got ruined, but I didn't have a ton of time to play. I think I had like, well, I say that, but just for some perspective here, I played like 10 days, right? Which is 240 hours. And I got Addy Trophy. So it just puts it in perspective. If you see anyone with Dragon Trophy, I mean, no offense, but like, don't smell their chair. Like, holy shit. I don't know. They must have logged on average like 8 hours a day the entire time, which, you know, I guess in their defense, I didn't really go for points. I think I had like 24k points total at the end of it, and Ruin Trophy was like a bit under 32k, so I almost had it. But yeah, Dragon was, yeah, I don't know. I did not play that much, but I still had like a lot of fun. Don't exit the video. I'm still a PKer, okay? I've not been brainwashed to the Iron Man mode, but honestly, Leagues was a lot of fun just because it kind of incorporated all the fun parts of being an Iron Man, earning things yourself, whatever, and took a lot of like the grindiness away from it. Like, for example, you would have like in every single skill you could get like between 2 and 4 mil XP per hour. Being I don't know what kind of efficiency you would even think about, because you don't necessarily have access to everything, but it was really, really fast to level up. I'll show like some final stats on the screen, probably like right now or something like that, but I think I had close to like 2100 total level with all that. Ended up getting a pet too on like 2kc Armadillo, so that was just lucky. I mean, there's no skill involved there, it's just luck. But it was seriously a lot of fun. So yeah, so the rewards actually were tradable, which is okay. Technically, if I really wanted to, I could sell each of these things and make like a crap ton of money. Not actually, I'm sorry, not a crap ton, but each of these like Void add-ons is like 2 mil or something crazy. What is it? Okay, a little bit less now, but you put all this stuff in there, it's 11 mil, and the tier 3 outfit was like 15k points. The void was like 6,500, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I could have got like 30 mil if I just bought all of these Shadowless Void ornament kits. But anyways, I just want to keep it. I don't even know if I can PK with it because I might lose it on death, which probably wouldn't be worth it, but at least it looks pretty cool. So that worked out. But all right, anyways, the main thing I want to talk about in this video is the PvP arena, and there's a lot to go over here. Probably going to be talking about it for like a long time, but the main reason I wanted to talk about most of it is because I think it's like going to be like super exciting. It's going to honestly change the game for lower defense builds, especially to be able to potentially compete with like med levels in the wilderness and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot to go through, so I'll put like an overview on the screen now. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is like, you know, what is it, when is it coming, whatever. Second thing, how does it work? Third, how, you know, what are the rewards, how do they work? Then I'm going to take a pretty deep dive into the rewards and compare them to like what the current meta is, and talk about what kind of implications that could have for the game in general, be it wilderness PKing or edgewood PKing, you know, whatever. I'm going to propose a couple of changes to the current rewards, and then I'll outline what I plan to do with my accounts. Like my main accounts that I PK on are this 42 defense account. I have a max 60 attack, 45 defense, a 55 prayer build, and then I have Zerg Dropper, who is like 75 attack, 1 defense, 53 prayer or something like that, but low HP with an Infernal Cape also. So yeah, I think I'm going to change. Well, anyways, I won't get to that. I'll leave that for later. So, all right, let's get into it. So, I'm trying to minimize my screen here. All right, PvP Arena. What is this? When is it coming? Basically, in a nutshell, the PvP Arena is going to be some sort of matchmaking PvP game mode that's held outside of normal RuneScape servers. It's kind of like a different server, like kind of like a beta would be, or kind of like leagues or something like that. It doesn't remember anything about like your personal account, other than I think like how many points you have, like reward points and stuff like that, but nothing is actually tied to your account. Fights are going to be to the death, so there's no like risk to either player, which I think is kind of interesting. It's like dead man mode style, where, you know, anything goes. You could be like a range tank with vengeance, or you could be NHing, you know, whatever. You can use whatever you want. The matchmaking will kind of be weighted. I think they tried to make it like an elo system, but they said they wouldn't be able to make it exactly like that. And then over time, you know, you're more likely to be paired with someone of like a similar skill level as you. So you're not like slaying noobs all day, but at the same time, you're not getting owned all day. So there'll be pretty close fights. That's at least the idea. Regarding the builds you'll have access to, again, it's not your account. There are 3 builds that will go in rotation. There's a 60 attack pure build, a 60 attack Zerker build, and then a 75 attack, 70 defense med level build. The pure build for some reason has 77 prayer right now. I don't really know why. But anyways, these builds are on a rotation, which I think is pretty cool. It's not just like some standardized, you know, like Last Man Standing. Last Man Standing is basically, I guess it's kind of like med level. But I don't know, it gets kind of stale. It'd be nice to have some sort of rotation. And Jagex had said that they would put in some sort of like pure and Zerker build into LMS for a long time. They haven't done that yet, but I don't think they'll even need to, honestly, when the PvP arena comes out and it has all these different ones. Regarding the items to choose from, there's like 400 items that you can like customize your loadout with. What's probably going to happen is there's going to be like a meta and people are going to only use that build. Kind of TBD what that is, but I don't know. Given like the huge variety, I don't know. I could be wrong. There could be like a lot of different variety, which I think would be nice. How does it work? So the PvP Arena server is accessed through the grouping side panel. So that's this guy right here. You can select to join an official 1v1 tournament, which is like 4 to 64 people. It's set up by the game and only runs at certain times. Or you can join just a 1v1 battle where the game matches you up with an opponent. Like you don't actually pick, the game picks for you. And I like that. I think the game picking, someone to fight for you was always exciting. Bounty Hunter had that, and it was nice because you were incentivized to attack that player and kill that player, even if, maybe you knew that you were not better than the other player. At least you had some incentive to try. And that's what this is going to offer too. Since Bounty Hunter doesn't exist anymore, not really, I think this will be kind of refreshing. Maybe it'll exist soon, I don't know. But anyways, and you can also, of course, join like a manually created either tournament or a 1v1 fight, a 1v1 fight, excuse me. That's pretty cool. I mean, you can basically walk up to someone and challenge them to a duel on the spot, which, I don't know, which is pretty cool. Like, how often you see someone talking smack, they're like, 1v1 me, and like half hour later, they might log in Edgeville and you can fight, whatever. But you can like literally challenge them to a duel on the spot anywhere in the game, which is pretty awesome. So one thing I haven't talked about yet is like points. You can only earn points via matches that the game actually arranges. If you manually arrange a fight, you cannot earn points for that. I think this is for the best, to avoid boosting for points or rewards. Just a disclaimer, all of the rewards from this are untradeable. They may have some tie to GP if they drop GP on death or something like that, but Jagex hasn't really said anything about what the GP equivalents are going to be for that. So another cool thing from this, like while you're waiting for a match, you can do whatever you want in the main game. So say, you can PK at the GE or maybe even Edgeville, bring back BH please, while you're waiting for a match, and then you get notified when you have a match, and you can just switch to the alternate game world and just start your fight once both people are there. So in regards to the rewards, there are two types of points to kind of accumulate here. You have rank points and you have reward points. Now rank points determine your rank and they're used within the whole matchmaking system, and reward points, obviously you use those to buy the actual stuff. So rewards here. Now we're going to get into the rewards. I will want to say that, again, all rewards are untradeable. I think the main intent of this is to minimize the incentives to boost. So technically speaking, think about what's technically possible, because these people will do this. Level 3s, fresh off Tutorial Island, can play this minigame, and the barrier to entry is extremely low. I mean, there's essentially none. So how many points exactly are earned for a given fight or tournament placement have not really been disclosed yet, but it was stated that the point system will offer up some amount of points right away and a larger portion at the end of every week based off like your performance that week. The intent of this, I think, is to get those bots banned before it can accumulate any decent amount of points. Although these items, again, are all untradeable, there's been some mention that they will turn to coins when they're dropped into PvP related death. So of course this inherently ties some GP value to the items and therefore the points. I think it's really hard to get away from that no matter what you do. The rate at which an account can earn points and the GP per point equivalent will end up determining the potential profit per hour a burner account could make. And trust me, the accounts will try to abuse this and maximize this if they can and if it's worthwhile. If it's like 300k an hour, we're not going to see any bots. No bots will be there. If it's like maybe $1 mil an hour or $2 mil an hour equivalent GP, we might see a lot of bots. But the good thing is, the more the anti-cheating team analyzes the bot behavior, the more accurately they can actually automate the process for banning them, which will really help the PvP scene in the long run, I think. So I think that's what they're trying to do now in Last Man Standing. That's like the optimistic side of me thinking that. And then also reporting the bots seems to be working a lot better now too. They get banned, I think, pretty quickly. I could be naive on that, but that's at least what I think. So, all right, getting into what the actual rewards are now. There's some cosmetics. There's ornament kits for Dragon Claws, Dragon Warhammer, Heavy Ballista, Armadillo set, Bandos, Elder Chaos robes, Dagon robes, and the Elder Maul. I mean, it's pretty cool. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how these look. There's a beta out right now, but they just have like some green slime on them. I don't think that's actually how they're gonna look. But it's gonna be cool to see those. Again, untradeable, kind of makes it a little bit distinguishing of your account if you have those. There's also imbue scrolls, which I freaking love that they are putting these in. They can be used to imbue like basically everything that the Nightmare Zone and Soul Wars points can be used for. And it was mentioned by Mod Ash, I think during like a Q&A or something like that, maybe on Twitter, I don't know, that these imbue scrolls are meant to be pretty cheap. So this is like amazing news if you're PKing with like a imbued Berserker ring and you keep losing it because you die. Me, I do that. So this should make getting your imbue scroll back, or your ring imbue back, a lot less painful. I mean, Nightmare Zone personally is just so uninteresting to me. So I'm so glad they're putting in something else. I know Soul Wars exists too. I'm not a big fan. Sorry. They're also making a left-click teleport scroll. So usually the only left-click teleport scroll you can have that'll work up to 30 wild is like the Royal Tripod Seed or something. But you have to do Monkey Madness 2 for that, so that's locked behind a lot of quests. So I think this is meant to stand in place for that if you don't want to quest that much. That's what a lot of these rewards kind of get at. The rest of the rewards I'm going to talk about can only be used in PvP related environments. So again, these can only be used in PvP related environments, but it's not necessarily the wilderness only. Like for example, the first one of these is a blighted sack. Currently, I don't know, can you use blighted items in PvP worlds? I don't think you can. You certainly can't use them in things like, you know, Soul Wars, Castle Wars, Fight Pits, Clan Wars, you know, whatever. Yeah, just for completeness, the list that Jagex gave was the Wild, PvP Worlds, Soul Wars, Castle Wars, Fight Pits, Clan Wars. Those are the PvP scenarios where you can use this stuff. And I'll go through them in a second. PvP Worlds, they actually didn't specify if you're PVMing, can you use this stuff in PvP Worlds? I actually don't know. Same goes for the Wild. Like, will they work in a PVM scenario? I actually don't know. But I don't know. We'll see. So, yeah, before I go through these, just keep in mind we do not yet know the reward point value for any of these or the GP dropped on death in the PvP death. So the first one of these are Blighted Wave and Surge Sacks. Again, they drop some sort of GP in a PvP death. This would be kind of nice to have. I don't know exactly how many runes it will save. Like right now, I think if you bring like a combination staff, Wrath runes, Death runes, and a rune pouch that has like chaos. I don't know. I think, and like a snare sack or an entangle sack or whatever. I think if you have all of these, the wave, surge, entangle, and teleport sack, that's 4 inventory spots right there, and you don't need a rune pouch. So overall, I think those would be pretty nice. A rune pouch can be kind of expensive to, if you want to use a trooper parchment on it, and then a rune pouch itself from LMS is like a couple mil. So it'll be nice to have these and not necessarily have to use a rune pouch in the wilderness. So I think this is going to be a pretty sweet change. They're, again, untradeable. Now, these next rewards I'm going to talk about, these are the ones that I see as the game changers. All the items I'm about to go through can be used with a trooper parchment. So they can be used in the deep wild without fear of you losing them. And of course, they're all untradeable. So the first one, I'll scroll down here, is the wristbands of the arena. These have identical stats to Barrow's gloves and have a 20 defense requirement. So Barrow's gloves typically, unless you're like Rendy and like hack the game completely, they require 41 defense to actually unlock those through quests and stuff like that. So these will have a 20 defense requirement, again, only used through PvP. And they can also be imbued to have slightly better stats than Barrow's gloves, at least accuracy wise. And those can be wielded at 40 defense. So that's kind of interesting. accuracy bit is a common theme you're going to see throughout these rewards. So again, these are mainly a substitute for those not wanting to quest, but they want to do PvP. So the one thing I'll say is, have fun training up your account with like non-quest related gear. Like a lot of the quest related gear really helps training an account. So I don't know how much this will help, but it's an option for people that want this, especially 20 defense. Totally worth it for 20 defense for sure. This is a pure buff to 20 defense. The next thing they're going to introduce is this Centurion Cuirass. This is pretty similar to the Fighter's Torso. You need 40 defense to wear it. It's slightly higher defense than the Fighter Torso, except in range. The range defense stat is actually like 67 of the regular Fighter's Torso, and this one has 7. So I don't know if this was intentional or not. I don't know what you can have that's super strong against like melee I don't know what you can have like thinking of like what this thing is made out of that is really strong against melee but weak against range. Like how can it block like a spear coming at you but not an arrow? I don't know. I don't really get how that works. I know it's a game, but that just doesn't really make much sense, but maybe they'll change that, I'm not sure. But it replaces the need to do Barbarian Assault, essentially, if you want that +4 strength bonus in like the chest slot for that. So now, the next things I'm going to go over, these things could be huge. The Calamity chest and breeches and their associated headgear. So think of this kind of like Void, but there's several different tiers, first tier being 1 defense, so no requirements at all, which is pretty big, I'll show you. And then 50 defense, and then 75 defense. So I know 50 defense is kind of strange. It was originally 55, they changed it to 50. If you're Berserker, you can't use it, you have to get 50 defense, so kind of strange. The headgear, the first one is Mayoma, and that comes in 3 different tiers, and that is like the melee headgear. Then there's Korif's, which is the range, and there's I think Psycha's, which is the magic. Again, this stuff's going to be like Void, but the main thing to note here is that you don't have to use gloves. Like, there's no glove part of this set. It's a 3-piece set as opposed to 4. So you can use like Barrow's gloves, Tormented bracelet, stuff like that if you actually wanted to do that. I'll show the stats on the screen now for these as of today, which is March 26th. So let's see. So yeah, Calamity chest is the 1 defense, so no requirements. And then Superior Calamity, these have 50 defense requirement. And then moving up to the Elite Calamity, this has has exactly 75 defense to equip. And then of course you have the Mayoma's headgear set, just concept art here, 1 defense, 50, 75. This is the melee headset. And these are the stats for them now. Originally, this had like a damage reduction on it for a specific combat style. I think it reduced something like, I don't know, I don't want to think. Let me actually, hold on. Yeah, so for example, this used to have a range damage reduction. So it wasn't necessarily weak to range. I think it was strongest first range. So it reduced that even further. And then the Korif's headgear was strong against magic, and it reduced magic damage by 5%, 7.5%, and 10%. And then this one's kind of crazy. The magic one is negative range defense, so it's not very good against range at all. But it had like pretty good melee defense stats for magic gear, and also reduced damage by some percentage. So this was pretty big. This got removed, this damage reduction effect, and this is what the stats are now. They go more towards increasing like accuracy of that specific combat style, and like much less, if you compare here, like 7.5% accuracy and damage. Yeah, now it's 3% damage, 15% accuracy. So they went more the route of, by the way, these are wrong. I know it shows this, but these are wrong. Whatever's in these boxes are right. I checked in the beta too. But yeah, this could be pretty nuts, accuracy wise. They went the route of saying, okay, you're gonna wear this. It's basically like paper. Well, almost. Actually, that's not true. I'll go over the defense stats later. I just wanted to get like a brief view of this. So the main point I'm trying to say is that the helmets, if used in conjunction with the armor set, used to offer a damage reduction against a specific combat style, but this was removed. The armor generally has a relatively low defensive stat, so I believe the intent with this armor is to promote a glass cannon type style of PKing, putting focus on a player using the proper protection prayers to prevent damage while supposedly having increased accuracy. So I'll break down how effective each armor set is a little later. I just wanted to briefly go over it first. Defensive bonuses, a defensive bonus comparison for each set. I'll go through real quick. So tier 1 Calamity, so just the one defense requirement. So I'm just talking about the body and the legs at this point. So yeah, the Calamity chest and breeches, just talking about the, I don't know why this picture's so freaking big, but yeah, just talking about the body and legs at this point. The tier 1 set, the body and legs, has like a similar defense bonus as just a leather body, and that's it. So it's really like nothing. The tier 2 superior Calamity is similar to like rune legs and a red dragonhide body. So it's pretty similar to that, just those two stats, or those two items. And then the tier 3 elite Calamity is similar defense as something like an ancient d'hide top and dragon plate legs. It's pretty similar to those two items. The helms tend to follow a combat triangle balance, so the melee helm is basically the tank helm, but the mage helm is better against the mage helm is actually like the best in slot defense against melee. So it's kind of strange. Remember, mage is supposed to be weak to range, melee is supposed to be weak to mage, and range is supposed to be weak to melee. The tier 1 helms are generally all weaker than like a halo you can think of. The tier 2 helm, the tier 2 melee helm is kind of similar to like a Zerker helm defensive wise, but it's better versus range and worse against mage and range than this. The tier 2 range is weaker than a coif versus range and mage, and a lot weaker versus melee. Like it has like severe negative defense bonuses against melee. So the coif, honestly, I mean, the tier 2 range helm honestly sucks. That might need a buff. And then the tier 2 mage helm is like an enchanted hat and proselyte helm combined, essentially, but it has negative range defense. So that's the only thing there. Going on to tier 3, the melee helm is better than the Neatsnot face guard for melee and range, even the Torva helm for range defense, but has negative mage defense. The tier 3 range helm is a bit better than Carol's coif for range and mage, but of course has negative melee defense. And then the tier 3 mage helm is actually better than an ancestral hat for melee and mage defense by a lot, actually. And then even trumps it by an attack bonus as well, but has negative range defense. So against something like Standard Void, talking about the tier 2 armor, tier 2 is much better against melee and range, but Standard Void is a lot better versus magic. It's something like plus 30 with the tier 2 armor and like Barrow's gloves compared to like plus 80 for the Void set without the helms. Talking about the helms now, the Void helms all have like plus 6 defense no matter what style, which is much better than the tier 2 range helm. A little worse than the tier 2 magic helm. That one's a little bit better, and it's a lot better melee wise. But a lot worse than the tier 2 melee helm for all styles except magic, of course, because it's weak to magic. So I know I just spit out like a ton of info at you, but hopefully I put some stuff on the screen that kind of annotates what I'm going through when I was looking at that. I try to do like a lot of comparisons here. Next thing I want to go over was the Humble Piety and Humble Chivalry. So these are going to be pretty big. Humble Chivalry apparently is a scroll that grants you access to Chivalry, and you don't need any defense requirement for it. You basically need 1 defense and 60 prayer, and you can use it. Now, it's important to note that Chivalry, it's not going to grant you any defense if you don't have the defense level for it, and if you haven't completed the Knight's Waves, level 6 whatever. The 20% defense, taking that out, I mean, for a pure, it's not really going to do like anything. A pure already has like no defense. For a Zerker, it might do something, but for a pure, it won't do anything, even if you did have it. The really main difference here is you get an extra 3% strength over like ultimate strength. So that's a good thing, and that actually does more than you'd think max hit wise, and I'll show that later. They also are offering Humble Piety, which is going to require 40 defense, as it says here in bold, and 70 prayer. So this one's going to be pretty big. I mean, the strength bonus you get is 8% more and 5% more attack than the standard 15% prayers that you have typically with like 52 prayer or less. Like Zerkers have never had access to this, so this is going to be pretty nice. The prayers, again, would not offer the defense bonus if you have not completed the Knight's Waves training ground and stuff like that. But they are going to be pretty sick for new max hits. They're going to come with more combat levels, of course, but I'll show later how that balances out. So a couple, well, that's about everything that the blogs talk through. There's a lot to be like, there's a lot of implications of all this though, and that's what the next part of this video is going to go on about. A couple unknowns that we still have regarding all the blogs. How the point system will work, still not really sure. Like the relative cost of each reward, don't really know, other than Mod Ash's comment about imbue scrolls being, quote, fairly cheap. Who knows. And then the overall GP value of the rewards, dropped on death and stuff like that, like the repair costs of some of these. Mata Isa had said something like 1 mil per piece for the 1 defense set, 5 mil per piece for the 50 defense set, and then 10 mil per piece for the elite set, the 75 defense set. So I'm still not entirely sure if those are good or not. I'll have to think about that more. But the one thing I do know though, if you make it 10 mil to repair or 5 mil to repair, it will always be cheaper to use a trooper parchment and ensure the item like that. So even if you make it 5 mil or 10 mil, the true cost will be the trooper parchment and like the extra 500k fee or whatever it is. It's not going to be 10 mil. So that's something that they definitely need to think about with like the cost, because they could try to make it like, high risk, high reward, but it'll be like medium risk, high reward, which will break that. So I think they have to be really careful about how they do that. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to cover in this video are the implications of these rewards for PvP. So of course we're gonna have a lot of new max hits for lower defense builds, especially now that the wristbands are being added, Chivalry, Piety, and of course the Calamity armors and helms. Those are going to make a really big difference in max hits. So first thing I want to do is compare like damage accuracy and defense balance for a typical wilderness setup for a pure, a Zerker, and a med level. So I'll try to like, put some stuff on the screen so you don't have to just listen to me say these. But let's say for a pure, your setup is wizard boots, no ring, myth gloves. You have like full chaos robes, tome of fire, occult necklace, toxic staff, Zamorot cape, casting something like fire surge. Before this update, your max is a 45 and you had about 88 accuracy. The tier 1 set, you have a 46 max with 109 accuracy. So that's a pretty big buff. Going through range now, assuming you're using like a dragon crossbow with a dragon bolt and an amulet of fury with like lusty hide chaps and the chaos top and stuff like that, your max is a 40 with 127 accuracy. With a tier 1 armor, you have a 43 max with the same accuracy, 127. Now, just know that there are so many variables in this, so I'm just showing this for like a basic build with like medium risk, like nothing crazy. A pure can't even risk that much, honestly, but just like a medium amount of risk here. Now, like looking at like something like the G Maul, before your max would be like a 36 with 97 accuracy, like crush bonus, I guess. and now your max would be a 37 with 116 accuracy. So a heck of a lot more accurate. Like, that's like the difference between wearing a strength amulet and a torture. It's more than that, actually. It's plus 19 as opposed to what, plus 15 that the torture offers. So that's a really big difference. And then AGS, I wanted to compare here. The max with like the standard gear that I was talking about before is like a 65 with 148 accuracy, and the max with this new armor, the tier 1 set at least, would be a 66 with 177 accuracy. So that's what, public math, that's like a plus 29 slash bonus you get from wearing this armor set, which is crazy. Like, for 1 defense, there is no alternative. Like, you don't have void to choose from, you just had like nothing. So like in the body armor and helm slots, there was like nothing that would really boost your attack bonuses. Maybe the Halo did a little bit. I actually don't know off the top of my head, but this is going to be huge. The defense bonuses, though, you'll be a little bit less, because if you don't have Blessed D'hide on or something like that, that's really where the main defense bonus comes from, the Blessed D'hide chaps. The Elder Chaos robes don't do crap. So, but anyways, that's just the pure build. I'm going to do a similar analysis here for a Zerk build, but I'm not going to walk through everything. I'm just going to show you the numbers on the screen. So yeah, on the screen now is essentially what I envisioned as like a typical Zerker setup in the wild, doing like NHing and like the Rev Caves or something like that. This is a setup that I actually use pretty frequently when I ever go out there, which is not often, but I do. Just again, comparison between the standard gear and then maybe standard void gear that you would have, between max hit and accuracy bonus of that, and then the tier 1 Calamity set and the tier 2 Calamity set, the standard and the superior Calamity set. So I mean, big takeaways from here, defense wise, tier 1 is like paper. Like, I would not recommend using that if you're a Zerker. Like, you'll probably get torn up. Tier 2 you'd have to get 50 defense for, and it has better defensive bonuses. Better defensive bonuses, and your mage max hit and mage accuracy are better than the standard gear. Range wise, the max hit is better for tier 1, but the accuracy is considerably worse. And again, you have like paper as defense, so that's probably not great to use. Tier 2, your max hit's a good amount more, but your accuracy is actually still less than you have for like Blessed D'hide top and bottom. So I don't know, that's kind of underwhelming, and your defensive bonuses aren't fantastic because the range helm honestly just sucks. Talking like melee now, your max hit really won't change much between that setup, void, the tier 1 or tier 2 armor. It's about the same. The accuracy goes up a lot actually with tier 1 and tier 2. So the biggest change here, I think, is the accuracy. Your max hit's about the same, but your accuracy is a lot higher, but your defense is also kind of like a lot lower for tier 1 and more or less actually kind of like the same for tier 2. So I'm not sure if that was like intentional to keep that defense bonus the same for that. Using an AGS, I mean, I think this is really where you're going to see the big differences in accuracy. Since it's percentage based, if your initial like base value is already high, a percentage based boost will make a huge difference. Like, for example, you know, using the typical setup, Blessed D'hide, Zerk Helm, your AGS accuracy slash bonus is 159. Using the tier 2 set, it's 202. Even using the tier 1 set, it's 190 compared to 159. I mean, that is a huge buff. So yeah, it's going to be a good idea to use something like an Elder Maul or like a God Sword when you're using this set. Claws will be okay, but you'll get crazy accuracy with like a God Sword or something like that. Now I go into like a med level setup, so thinking like something like Infinity Boots, Brimstone Ring, Barrow's Gloves, Serpentine Helm, and like Barrow's armor like Aram's and Carol's and stuff like that. Maybe a little bit different. This is just like a standard setup, like not like crazy max set, crystal, ancestral, you know, whatever. But something like in the middle of the road here. So big takeaways from this, you know, magic, even compared to like Elite Void, magic is just a pure buff. I mean, defensive wise, you're about the same, I think, Actually, looking back at this, you actually have better defense bonus with the Elite Calamity magic set than you do full Arams in a Serpentine Helm. Range-wise, it's actually about the same for this kind of level, or for this kind of build. Your accuracy is about the same, but your max hit is a good amount more actually. So for the tier 3, the range set is actually pretty good, at least in this scenario. And then for the melee set, yeah, it's just a pure buff. Up in max hit, up in accuracy, and your defense is really not that terrible. So the next thing I wanted to do is talk about the implications this would have for like Edgeville style PKing for a pure, a Zerk, and a med level. So pure here, thinking, you know, pretty high strength bonuses like Infernal Cape, Myth Gloves, Manacles, Strength Ammy, Black Chaps, like a Halo. Your AGS max goes from like a 70 to a 71, but your accuracy goes from like 142 to 170, which is a big deal. Your magic short bow max goes from a 25 to a 26, and you actually lose accuracy because you don't have the you don't have the black DI chaps on, so not the best actually. I don't think it's actually worth it to use the ranged armor. Well, I don't know. It's up to you. You can do whatever you want, but it may not be worth it to use the range set when you're like Edgeville style PKing on a pure, unless you're just using range. Otherwise, I think it would be. You get like extra Debo max hits now, which is huge. I think a pure's new max hit with a Debo went from a 42-42 with an Anguish and a Debo to a 45-45 if you're on accurate with Eagle Eye and stuff like that. Potted up. A Zerker now. Thinking, you know, not like crazy gear, no Berserker Ring of Beauty or anything like that. Torso and legs, Zerker Helm, Strength Amulet. Your AGS max hit goes from like a 73 to a 75. Accuracy's, you know, again, buffed by like 40. Rune Defender, Rune Defender and a DDS, your accuracy goes up a bit, and your max hit stays about the same. So more or less, I mean, the moral of the story for all of these, I can go through them. I have a bunch of numbers. The moral of the story for all of these is your accuracy goes up, your defense goes down, your max hit stays like about the same. That's basically the main takeaway for each of these for Edgeville style PKing. And sometimes your defense is a lot worse than the standard stuff. For a med level here, kind of the same story. Damage goes up, accuracy goes up by a lot, and your defense goes down just a little bit, really. I mean, not that much. I also wanted to give you like a snapshot of what the max hits look like now for a ton of different builds. I tried to do this for a lot of different builds, like the most common ones, and you can really see the impact of things like, also, I just wanted to state, assumptions for each of these was using the maximum possible strength bonus of every single slot possible for each like respective weapon and build and whatever. So when you see 20 defense, I'm using the new gloves. When you see, you know, 60 prayer, I'm using humble chivalry. 70 prayer, humble piety, you know, whatever. And then on the left hand side, it's using everything apart from the Calamity armor. On the right hand side, it's using all the best possible gear with the new Calamity armor. So you'll get to see like what kind of difference that makes. This took me honestly a long time to generate. So yeah, I hope you appreciate it. I don't know. I tried to sort it by combat level too. So it's all about the associated balance between combat level, max hits, and risk. I think those three things are like really hard to tear apart from each other. I guess accuracy too. Maybe accuracy is one too that people don't really think about, but you don't really see that effect so much. But you know, some highlights for you, like before the max AGS you could hit with a 1 defense pure was a 72. Okay, get chivalry, get 1 extra prayer level, boom, it's a 75. Like that's huge. using the Calamity armor, 76. Like, that is immense. Pure is going to be able to hit a 40-40 DDS now in maximum strength gear. That's insane. That used to be the Zerker max hit possible up until like a couple years ago. So that's pretty huge. 20 defense, 60 attack at level 88 combat, fully maxed out. We'll be able to hit a 41-41 DDS with the new Calamity armor, which was essentially my Zerker's max hit up until a little while ago. 60 attack Zerkers are going to be able to hit a 44-44 with Piety, not even having to risk anything more than like spiked manacles, which is crazy. So I think I'm gonna get that. I think I'm gonna get Piety, honestly. Don't know if I'm gonna get 50 defense yet. Not entirely sure, but I think I'm definitely gonna get Piety on my account, which has been the same build for like 4 years or something crazy. So, or maybe even more. Like it might have been like the same build since like 2017. So that's gonna be interesting. Like 75 attack, 42 defense, like what I have right now. You know, if you get chivalry on that, you can hit up to like a 78 AGS, which is just huge. The tier 1 Calamity armor honestly doesn't do that much for a 42 defense build. Yeah, it doesn't really do that much for that kind of build, which is interesting to think about. Yeah, I don't know. It's just chivalry that makes the big difference. I think the 75 attack, 50 defense, you know, with Piety, that's going to be basically like the new max, like medium tier defense build you can get at 102 combat. You'll be able to hit an 82 AGS, 83 AGS with the gear, 64 Elder Maul, 44 DDS. Just some crazy hits that were not possible for a Zerker before. So it got nerfed slightly. You used to be able to hit like a 46 DDS at 97 combat. I think if that was still the case, I would definitely get 50 defense. But now that it's not the case, I'm still really on the fence about it. But yeah, I'll just leave this chart here for you guys to stare at for a few minutes. You can pause it right here if you want to. Actually, I'm probably just going to move on to the next thing. But yeah, pause here if you want to take a longer look at all of this. And the last thing I want to talk about is what I plan to do with my accounts. So I'll talk about my my 1 defense account first. It has 75 attack, 89 HP, like 94 strength. I think what I'm going to do with that one, I think it would lead to a lot more max hits. I'm going to get 60 prayer on that for sure. I think I'm going to do that. The single prayer that offers attack and strength, I think is going to make it a lot easier to switch between range prayer and melee prayer when fighting people in like Edgeville or you know, PvP worlds or something like that. Gives more max hits, which is always great. And then I think I'm going to go up to like 96 strength. So if I do that, I'll be 85 combat. My max AGS will be like a 71, which is it's like a 66 right now. So 71 is huge. You know, 5 max hits for 2 combat levels, yeah, any day. With a B ring too, I'll be able to hit like a 73. Where right now I technically could hit a 70 at my build with a B ring and stuff like that. So I don't know. I might start risking a B ring more if it's that cheap. But for my 75 attack, 42 defense account, I think I'm gonna get Piety. But yeah, I think I'm gonna get Piety, but I'm not going to get 50 defense. I don't think I'm gonna get 50 defense on that account, but I'm gonna get Piety for sure. I think that's gonna make a big difference. For second base, my 60 attack, 45 defense account, I'm gonna get Piety. I don't know if I'm gonna get 50 defense. I might be really on the fence with that one. I think that'd be a really unique build. I mean, if I did get 50 defense, both easy scapes and second base would both be 97 combat again, which I kind of like having 2 builds that at the same combat level that have different attack levels. You know, it kind of makes it interesting. So those accounts would be pretty balanced right there. So I think that's going to be my plan for that. My main obviously is 99 all combat stats basically except prayer, so that one's not changing. But yeah, I think we're going to have some pretty big changes to my accounts, and they'll lead to some pretty sick new max hits and just potential for those accounts. So it's gonna be higher max hits, but higher combat level, which you'd expect. If it was not a higher combat level, but you'd be getting more max hits, that'd be a little broken. But again, that's what you have with one defense pure, is actually getting this new Calamity armor. That's just a pure buff to one defense accounts, and 20 defense accounts too, honestly. But 20 defense accounts needed something. There was like no point in being 20 defense before this. I mean, extra defense bonus, you can wear like Xerxes Road. I don't know. It just didn't make any sense. So now the 20 defense build, I think, is going to be a lot more viable. Like if you go back to that max hit chart, like before and after this update, yeah, 75 attack, 20 defense at 92 combat, same max hit as one defense at 88 combat. So, what's the point in doing that? And now if you introduce things like chivalry and Calamity armor and the gloves, max hit of a 77, which is pretty crazy. But you only hit a 76 apparently with one defense, but you have to risk like a regen and bracelet and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just think 20 defense is a lot more viable right now. So all in all, I think the overall things that I would propose a change to, I think the damage reduction that was originally proposed with these armor sets was indeed broken. I think it needed to be removed because, damage reduction within like Elijah and Spirit Shield is only 70% active all the time. So, and this would be 100% active all the time against a certain style. I don't know. It's kind of a weird balance. There's no like black and it's definitely not black and white. So I know the whole intent of the armor sets was to give, increased damage, and increased accuracy, and even more increased accuracy as you go up the chain. I'm actually going to argue, what if that, the damage progression stayed the same, but what if the accuracy progression was swapped such that the lowest tier gave the highest accuracy, the middle tier gave, maybe middle of the road accuracy, and the highest tier gave the lowest accuracy. I mean, they'd all be boosts, so they'd all be higher than the normal, but the lower defense set would give higher accuracy. And then to go along with that, what if, I know there's no damage reduction effects anymore with the helms, but what if just a set effect of, that set of armor, whether it be melee, mage, or range, any of those combinations, what if those gave like protection prayer buffs, only in PvP, of course, and the lower defense set gave a greater buff to protection prayers when used against the proper, attack style that's incoming. And the whole intent of that, at least in my head, was, okay, if you have a really skilled one defense account going against a med level guy who kind of sucks, that med level guy is still going to win the fight because all he has to do is just keep bolting the one defense pure. I mean, he can be praying range, the guy with one defense, but his defense bonus is so freaking low, it's not going to matter. He's going to get hit through prayer pretty high like every single time. And wouldn't it be nice if the guy with the lowest defense had some higher accuracy bonus against people with, maybe potentially higher defense? That's the way my mind goes here. Do the people with really high stats need even higher accuracy? That would basically make it such that they could kill people with lower defense now even easier, and it was already easy, relatively speaking. So, and the middle of the road is middle of the road. It's the in between of that. So, that would be my main proposal for the Calamity sets. I think that would be an interesting change that I'd like to see other people's opinion on. I haven't fully thought it out. I mean, could that be abused in some way or the other? I don't know. I don't know. It could have some effect where if you pray the right thing, then it has a pretty good buff. But if you pray the wrong thing, it goes the other way. Maybe that's might be taking it too far, because if you get like an unlucky Gmaul, you could literally get just one hit. So I don't know about that second part about the wrong prayer having a penalty. Maybe that just be normal damage, but overall, I think a player should be I think a player should be rewarded if they are good and skilled enough to have the correct protection prayer on, in that specific way. I mean, that's not a trivial thing to do. People can always one-tick their switches to get people off prayer, but there's a lot of skill involved in making sure you have the correct protection prayer up. So that sort of damage reduction in that way, and that accuracy boost in another way for the lower defense builds that at least stand a chance now against higher defense builds with this specific gear set, again, I think would be really interesting. So that's probably a controversial thing, but as is a lot of things around PvP, but that's my take on what would make this really interesting. The second thing I would propose is increasing the range accuracy with the tier 2 set. I just think it's like way too underwhelming for a 1 to 50 defense jump to have that kind of difference in stat. It's just not enough. The incentive to go 50 defense is not necessarily there if that's the case, and that's just one of the things. I think the defense bonuses of the tier 2 range helm are also super crap compared to the tier 1 helm. I mean, there's just not that much of a difference between the 1 defense version and the 50 defense version. It just doesn't really make much sense. I think that could be changed a lot. Going back to the accuracy of the tier 2 set, I think it's the main reason it's so bad is because a Zerker could use something like a dragon hide top and bottom and stuff like that, and where a pure can't. I don't know, I just overall the balance just doesn't seem right. I don't know, the tier 2 range set definitely needs work done. It's not good enough as it stands right now. And the last thing I would probably do is reduce the defense bonuses of the tier 3 armor just as a whole. I know it's 75 defense, so it should be higher than tier 2 for sure, but it's a lot higher than tier 2. I think that could be reduced a little bit, and that would make the balance of everything a little bit better. So yeah, and then another one of the proposed changes was to increase the Centurion Cuirass's range defense up to at least 67. Honestly, it should just be higher. It should just be better, a little bit better, if we're being consistent there. This is not supposed to be like a Calamity piece. I don't know why you're trying to balance it like, I mean, even if it was, like, if something's good against melee, it has to be good against range too. That just doesn't make any sense. So I think that was probably like an oversight. That was probably a typo. It should be 67. So, all right, those are my main proposed changes after everything. Honestly, like, I was kind of nitpicking in this. I think this update is going to be insane. It's definitely going to, like, leave me super addicted to the game, which honestly, like, Leagues was a lot of fun, but now that Leagues is over, like, I don't know, like, I'm really not that motivated to play the game right now, just because PKing around the Grand Exchange, it sucks. Like, it's awful. My main thing used to be Edgeville style PKing, and now the only place you can actually go that's active to get that sort of combat is the Grand Exchange, and it sucks. Like, if you're a JMod watching this, I don't know how else to tell you this, but it is so bad. There are so many things that make it bad. This video is already long, so I'll just go ahead and say it. Like, the first thing that sucks that I would say is the combat level range. 15 combat levels is too high. Like, that's the difference between a maxed G-Mauler at 1 defense, 50 attack, and a completely maxed 60 attack, 45 defense Zerker account. Like, that fight won't even be close, ever. And that's that's the same difference between that Zerker build and a max med level with 75 attack. Like, how is that fair in any way. Why would anybody ever want to fight someone 15 combat levels higher than them? I think you could make a good point for why people would want to fight someone 15 combat levels lower than them. Sure, who would say no to that fight, right? But that's just the nature of PKers. They always want to try to find a fight that they can actually win. So yeah, you want to pick on the lower levels. And I just think, think from a new player's perspective. How do I get into PvP? Oh, well, you can go NHing at 0 risk with Last Man Standing, and they go try it, and they're like, holy crap, this is like the most complicated thing I've ever done in a video game. Like, NHing is hard. It is like the hardest style of PvP by far. There's so much to track and think about, gear switches, and like, it's like mind games with it too. It's hard. Edgefield style PKing, it can be hard. It can be really involved with like being like tick perfect with like your vengeances and your eats and whatever. But generally speaking, it's a lot more noob friendly than something like NHing. And okay, where can you go for Edgefield style PKing right now? Nowhere. You can go to the Grand Exchange and you can get rushed by someone 15 combat levels higher than you, and you will just be dug into the ground. Or you can spend like hours trying to find someone with similar skill level to you to fight with. And I mean, those don't even exist because they've just been killed so quickly by like everybody else. So the only people left in PvP worlds are people that are like insanely good, just because all the noobs were just pounded into the ground and they don't want to be there anymore. So I don't even blame them. I know, like, I am like the bounty hunter guy. I will advocate for that all day, every day. Bounty hunter, the thing with that is that it paired you up with someone of your combat level, plus or minus 5. That's a good range. Like that was the perfect range. Anything beyond that, it can be a pretty unfair fight for the lower combat level guy, regardless of the build. 5 combat levels make a big difference. Anything beyond that, of course, is even more. So it paired you up with somebody, and let's say the person was better than you and you knew that. What incentive did you have to fight that player? They're your target. You can get an emblem from that. That's some more money. Maybe they were risking more too. Like there's some actual incentive to try to fight someone that you admit and is better than you. Now, by the Grand Exchange, what incentive do you have to fight someone who's a single combat level higher than you if they're risking the same and they're a lot better than you? Like, nope, I'll pass on that all day long, right? That's what these new players are thinking. Like, they don't want to fight someone that they don't think that they can win against. And if you filter down the current PvP community to who a noob could win against, it's like nobody. So Bounty Hunter, again, was great because it gave you someone who was actually your combat level, so you could learn how to build, a competitive PvP account. It was relatively simply mechanics, no like overhead switching and not a lot of gear switches, and it assigned a target for you. So it could give you a noob, it could give you a pro, but there's just a lot more incentive to learn that way, because you could still make a little bit of money sometimes if you got lucky. And I know boosters are just a big problem, and that honestly just sucks. I mean, that's the truth of it. That just sucks. I think these untradeable rewards have merit. Could they be applied to Bounty Hunter? I think possibly, yeah. I think they could work. Would it still be profitable for a noob? I mean, if it's profitable for a noob, it's gonna be insanely profitable for someone who's actually good. And should that be a good thing? I don't know. But this is not a video about Bounty Hunter. I can make a different video on that. My mind kind of goes towards like making a system that matchmakes you against someone who is of your skill level and risks, somewhere around the same as you, so it's kind of worth your while. But I don't know. Anyways, that's for a different video. This one's like getting close to like 40 minutes or something crazy, so I'm gonna wrap it up there. Hope you enjoyed. More videos to come probably in the near future with this new PvP arena. And yeah, if you want to see me make a different video in the meantime about any of my other accounts or whatever, just let me know. I don't really have any other video ideas, honestly, until this comes out. But I wanted to get this video out there in case any JMods actually wanted to watch this. Because honestly, like the whole point of the beta, right, is to take a critical look at all these things and say, you know, should this come into the game like this or should it not? And yeah, you could say, oh, it's Jagex's job to do that, but you know, they know. I think they know that the players. I mean, I've been playing this game since I was fucking in 3rd grade. Like, holy shit, I've been playing this game for so long, like almost 20 years. I don't know. I just think they know that the players probably have better insight on how to properly balance stuff like this. So with this video, I try to give feedback on some things that I would change. Overall, a lot of it looks really good. So yeah, I think that about wraps up this video. If you made it all the way to the end, I really appreciate it. You must like what I'm talking about, so please subscribe if that's the case. Again, it costs you nothing. It's just YouTube, right? So I'd appreciate a like on the video as well. It just helps it get out there. Again, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I know this is a long-ass video, but I appreciate you hanging with me. If you're really interested in this stuff, hopefully this was interesting to listen to. So, till the next time, I'll see you later.